event management is the most challenging aspect of any communications professional. Handling an event, you're there 24/7.
Crisis is something that could strike anytime. Why is this important for organization to build more strong crisis communication capabilities?
If a crisis happens, you should address the media and the general public as soon as possible. Of course, you need to address the situation immediately, but crisis communication capabilities don't happen overnight. You need to think long-term and build it over a period of time. What I had learned in college is now completely outdated. We had learned linear editing. Nothing is linear editing now, it's all digital. You're shooting on iPhones. We learned in heavy cameras. It's very important to keep yourself updated, refreshed. Only then you will be able to handle.
Advice that you would like to give us who are aiming to be stepping into this communication world?
2 qualities that you need to develop, whether you're a journalist or whether you're a communications professional.
Good morning and welcome back to the channel, the KRMU Times, with a freshly brewed podcast and the space where we come up with a lot of insightful conversations, expert opinions, and even stories that really does matter. Hi, I'm Soumitra Halder, today your host, and we have a very special episode lined up for you. Because the guest who are joining us today, she is a successful communication specialist with experience of over 20 years now. And she has experience in 360-degree communication, including PR, branding, crisis communication, and to be honest with you, the list is really long. And she's none other than Ms. Gitima Das, ma'am. Good morning and welcome back to the channel and welcome to this podcast specially.
Thank you, Soumitra. It's a pleasure to be here.
First of all, thank you so much for making this happen, because for me, it's really an honor to be hosting you and having you on the show. So first of all, I think along with me, my audience who are watching you right now, they're interested to know about your journey. I mean, how all this started and that core and the particular thing that made you choose this field to be in.
That's a very interesting question. So going back almost 20 years, that's when I got into Jamia Millia Islamia. I had also got into JNU, but I didn't want to get into strictly academic. I wanted to do something creative in my life. And that's why I chose Jamia. And after passing out, I joined a production agency. But then I found, challenges to it. And then I saw this very striking ad for the corporate communications at GAIL India Limited. I sat for the entrance, cleared it. There was an interview and I got through. And there's no looking back after that.
That's great. So your expertise spans PR, branding, crisis communication. And for me, to be honest, it's been sounding so hectic when it comes together in one plate. So in one career, how are you balancing all these diversities and this versatility?
Okay, so when you choose this field, you have to remember that there's no pausing. When you decide to become a journalist or a communication professional or a branding expert, it is 24/7. A lot of things you learn on the job when you choose this career. There are things, stepping stones that you take, and you learn the ropes on the job itself. Having said that, I would say these are just different facets of the same communications profession that you choose. So when I'm talking to you, it is a very intimate one-on-one, face-to-face communications. So I'm kind of building my brand here. I'm building my personal brand. At the same time, I'm communicating with you.
Exactly.
Right? So that is personal branding. Now, when you do that same thing, you're recording this conversation, you're going to relay it on social media, on your own radio. You're reaching out to a group of people, a number of students, your faculty, your professionals who work in this university. So that is public relations. You're communicating with the public, right?
Exactly.
Now, after having, during the podcast or during chatting, I say something very bad about your university, right? And that accidentally some student was recording it and puts it on social media. What is it? It's a crisis for you? It's a crisis for the university? right? You'll go into firefighting mode. You find out who recorded it, how did it happen, when did I say it. So you will assess the entire crisis situation and you will come on firefighting mode to address it. I hope nobody saw that thing. I hope no parent saw it. I hope the management is not reacting very aggressively. So you come into firefighting mode. That is crisis communications. So at the end of the day, you're doing multiple roles. You're wearing different hats. But at the end of the day, you're still handling communications. So that is it.
And if I'm not wrong, you're also into storytelling, right?
Yes.
I also like storytelling personally. Tell me one thing, how storytelling is so powerful and important in communication?
Right. So when you say storytelling, what do you understand? It is not some rocket science. It is not that you study 2 years and then, become a storytelling expert.
How it puts impact in communication?
Yes. So storytelling kinds of builds a connect with your audience. When you are telling a story, you're narrating your own experiences. So it'll immediately have an emotional connect with your audience. Storytelling can be in different formats. So storytelling immediately builds a relationship. It gives you a trust and authenticity to your experience because it's a first person narration. So even when you are, say, using an ad film, you're telling about yourself. You're sharing an experience, right? So I just, in the interactive session, I shared a small clip about Apple. In that film, Apple is not talking about its iPhone. It is set in a very urban milieu with a girl who's watching a cricket match on the go in an auto rickshaw. So it's a very Indian connect because your target audience, you're trying to sell it into an Indian audience. So you build your story around an Indian context. So you're telling a story, but you picked up components that can relate with an Indian audience.
Exactly.
You're traveling by an auto, the girl is watching a cricket match. So these are all, immediately you connect with an Indian audience. You're telling a story. So when you're telling a story, it has to be powerful. How powerful it became? Because it immediately builds that. Even if you tell a story, like, as kids, when it's a rainy day after dark, you see Dadi or Nani, so jao.
Yes.
Or, if you venture out, a wolf will come. You're immediately, creating an emotion that if I don't fall asleep immediately, something bad might happen. So you are building that connect, that relationship. So storytelling impacts. So even when we go back to the caveman days, they were writing some symbols. We're telling a story that, there might be some animal, we need to kill it. We need to gather as a group and we need to go out for hunting. You're communicating with your own tribe, but you have said a story. Immediate connect. That's how you tell a story and that's how you build a relationship.
Got it. And you've also managed a lot of brandings and sponsorship even at the PM levels, right? And during that, have you ever faced any challenge that, and also your takeaway from those incident or any kind of experiences?
Event management is the most challenging aspect of any communications professional because you are handling multiple touch points. You're not just shooting. You're not just talking to someone. You're handling multiple aspects. And when you say events, there are two main categories of events. Although now even wedding management has become a niche area. But when you say events, political events and business events are very different. So when you are handling an event, you're there 24/7. You may hire an event management agency, but at the end of the day, you have to prepare the brief. You have to see how the construction, how the event is progressing. You will have to oversee whether a film that you're going to play that is syncing with the technology there, right? Now, when you are speaking business events, you may have a 5-star event, at AeroCity or, at Yashobhumi. There, the venue provides infrastructure to you.
Yeah.
It is all ready-made. But you have to look into different aspects. You have to find out your speakers. You have to think about a theme. You have to figure out different things. At the end of the day, it is still your present there. Political events, I would say it's a different nature. Because what happens, you have to take into consideration the stakes of the country and a person who's heading the country, right? So you have to understand those dynamics, whether you are organizing an event for a CEO or whether you're organizing a political event. And political events, normally, infrastructure is a big challenge because you're holding it in any place. You need to set up a pandal or, tent kind of an environment where that event can be conducted. When you're holding a business event, you know your target audience, and they will, if they're interested, they will automatically come. Although you are coordinating with speakers, with your audience, that is a different thing. But here, you have to amass a group of villagers, right?
Yes.
So that is challenging. That is networking. You have to get in touch with a lot of local coordinating bodies, NGOs, district representatives. That is a different kind of networking there. But political events are definitely challenging. And my takeaway would be, go with an open mind. Don't think that you're going to, be handed on a platter. You have to think on your feet. You have to, make decisions. So, yes, I think business events are more structured, but political events, you need to put that structure together.
And you have also worked very closely with the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas as well. So how is this different from normal corporate communications? They must be different, right?
Yes. So when you're working in the ministry, of course, it was a huge learning curve for me. But when you're working under the ministry, you're working under a minister who has a vision, right? You're thinking about the big picture. You are thinking about a billion-plus country and how those decisions are going to impact not just the entire village, but even a single citizen.
So crisis is something that could strike anytime, especially in these sensitive industries. So how and why is this important for organization to build more strong crisis communication capabilities?
So any industry that you work in, crisis can strike any time, right? So how you address it, I'll come to it. But the thing is, so fortunately for me, I haven't had the good fortune of handling a big disaster or a big crisis. There have been small instances, yes. But what happens is you need to think about a long-term strategy when you handle crisis communications. Of course, you need to address the situation immediately, but crisis communication capabilities don't happen overnight. You need to think long-term and build it over a period of time. So for crisis communication, you need a long-term communication plan, a long-term crisis communication strategy. And that begins with identifying a spokesperson for the company. Now, usually it is the head of the communications department. And you build an entire team where the main person is the CEO or the head of the organization, because either the spokesperson or the CEO addresses the media when a crisis occurs. You also need to build a listening expert. Someone, when any crisis happens, the person can speak to not just media, but also to district administration, someone who can speak to fire control, or maybe, a health expert. Like, you need to maintain a database, right? Create the database. You also need to create a database of the journalists who cover your beat. So whether you are an FMCG company, whether you're an energy company or a political company, you need to identify your list of journalists, build a data bank, and keep reviewing it, keep refreshing it. Also, within your team, you need legal experts, you need technical domain experts. So I'll just give you an example of the Boeing crash, which happened recently. Boeing, of course, had its head office in US and didn't respond immediately. But what affected was Tata, Indian Airlines. So Tata obviously didn't respond immediately, right? It took its time. But to assess the situation, you need an aeronautical expert, right? Only they can give you or tell you what the actual situation was. So you need domain experts. you need a CSR expert. So when any crisis happens, you have your team to pool information and to connect and coordinate, liaison with the right authorities. Having said that, if a crisis happens, you should address the media and the general public as soon as possible. If it's possible within 2 hours, great. But you should ideally address the media within 8 working hours, right? And what do you say in that situation? You say that this and this has happened. Basically, we point out to the 5 W's and
one H.
Yeah. So you address what has happened, an accident, pipeline burst, incident of food poisoning, whatever industry, and so many casualties or so many people have been affected. This happened on so and so date at this place, right? So these are certain pointers that you issue to the media. Having said that, you also get back to your team and pool more information and then issue another within whatever time frame, 48 hours, 72 hours, or maybe. So this is how you build the capabilities. You also need to, practice and hold simulation exercises so that you're prepared to address any crisis. Also, the long-term strategy is you need to be consistent in the messages that you send. So it cannot be contradictory to what your corporate values stand for. So if I stand for, low carbon emission company, I cannot consume coal and then, my production cannot be billowing smoke into the sky. Right? That is contradictory to what you're trying to say or project. Also, when you in social media, I think you should verify your accounts. Whatever accounts, whether it's X, Twitter, Facebook, Insta, get your company verified so that people know that, this is the information that is coming out from these channels. Then you can, have and validate that this is what we have communicated. This is what we stand for. Any social media users, even if it posts something negative or contradictory, you can say that this is the values that we stand for. So please do not fall, for wrong information or misuse of information or misuse of the social media. So these are certain things that you need to follow and build a team capabilities slowly over a period of time.
So when we are talking about crisis or any kind of sudden inconvenience, as you mentioned, so on that note, in this digital era, even the news can be spread faster than original news channel, right? So on that note, how organizations ensure that the messaging is consistent and trustworthy at the same time during this crisis?
So like I said, it is a long-term strategy. And your consumers or your followers, when they know that, it is from a verified account, they will not, trust someone else who's not authorized or who is not part of a brand or who's not part of a company. So, like I said earlier, if your messaging is consistent and if it is true and clear, there is no ambiguity. You know that, this is the right message, this is the right information. So there's no contradiction between it. A social media user might post anything, but at the end of the day, who are you going to rely on? Is that user, has a user used your product?
Of course, has verified account.
Has a parent brought a baby feeding, formula from Nestle? You're going to be authentic. You're going to present facts, right? At the end of the day, you're going to rely on facts and a trustworthy, reliable source. So when I say, you can verify and you need to verify your social media channels, that gives you the credibility.
And if somebody like me, a student who wants to pursue their career in future in this communication world, so what would be that particular skill that we should develop or any particular training that you would recommend us to focus on?
So I think a basic degree in communications or MBA in branding or marketing, these are the essentials if you want to. A master's degree is always preferred, but if you prove yourself on the job, then surely even a basic graduate degree is enough. But most organizations, because you supervise, you manage, you come into a managerial role, unless, of course, you are reporting on the field or you're designing something. Like a lot of people design apps, user interface. So unless you're doing that, you're more into, when you come into organizations, you're more of a managerial role. So a postgraduate degree is preferred. Once you have done that, a lot of things you learn on the job. You cannot, nothing, no matter what degree you want, nothing can prepare you for the professional world. You learn, you think on your feet. And also, one thing that you need to do is read up, get information, get information from reliable sources, and reading helps you a lot. So, when you decide to study a particular course or, pick up any job, what you need to do is, specialize in something. We all become jack of trades, especially when you're studying for communications. But a specialization always helps you. And this specialization, you can either study or develop the skills on the job itself. So once you've qualified and gathered enough experience, you can go on to consultation roles.
Got it. And tell me one thing. Can this profession, being into a communication world, go beyond this corporate role like a consulting, government, or even international organizations?
Yes, of course. It's the more experience you gain, the better qualified you are. So 10, 20 years down the line, you can be, consulting for the UN, for international organizations. Sure.
Last but not the least, advice that you would like to give us who are aiming to be stepping into this communication world as per you?
So I think two qualities that you need to develop. One is empathy, and the other is a nose for facts. Whether you're a journalist or whether you're a communications professional, two things that you're going to help you and you need to inculcate in yourself is empathy. Human feeling for whether it's your friends, whether it's your community, whether it's your nation, and the nose, a flair and aptitude and inquisitiveness, to know things, to learn things, what's happening, where is it happening. The more you read, the more you put yourself out into the world, you'll learn better. Also, it's very important to keep yourself updated. What I had learned in college is now completely outdated. We had learned linear editing. Nothing is linear editing now. It's all digital. You're shooting on iPhones. We learned in heavy cameras. Of course, it builds your foundation. But it's very important to keep yourself updated, refreshed. Only then you'll be able to handle things.
Ma'am, thank you so much for coming. And it was a very wholesome conversation with you. And I really have to appreciate the way you were bringing this insight, this valuable insight. Thank you so much for being with us till the end. I hope you liked this podcast. If you have liked, please do not forget to hit the like button. And by any chance, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. We come up with freshly brewed podcasts very frequently so that you don't miss. And if you have any queries regarding this podcast or anything, you can mail us to this account. And I will see you very soon. Till then, take care. Bye.